go live to the former Deputy Prime Minister and Nationals frontbencher Barnaby. Joyce, thanks for your time joining us. I know you're starting leave soon, but there are a lot of stories to get your thoughts on. Keith Pitt in a moment, but on the Moira Deeming.
Like this, am I?
Well, you're working on the farm, I know you are, you're busy. But on the Moira Deeming story, just before we move on, does that disappoint you that the Liberal Party didn't admit her back into the party room?
I suppose a little it does. I think that all party rooms have a broad sway of people of different views, and whether you agree with Moira or not, I think it's incumbent upon parties to absorb that and to make sure that they get their very best by having people of different parts of the arc, left of right of arc, within your party. And as Simon Birmingham said earlier on, when you have that, you end up with the best decisions. Now, I think Moira should have been allowed back into that party room, and I'm sure if they had, then this issue would have passed over very, very quickly. But because it hasn't, then it's just going to fester and continue on. And that's not a statement about Mr. Pizzuto or a statement about Moira Deeming. That's a statement about how politics works.
And speaking of keeping your best team on the pitch, Keith Pitt has called time on his political career. What's your reaction to that and his critique of the National Party direction right now?
Well, first I'll start with Keith. Look, Keith and I Keith's good mates, but we've had times where we've been right at each other's throats. And Keith has a very strong compass. He's a very competent person. He's very erudite in the fields where he has expertise, which especially is around electricity. And as such, he's a force to be reckoned with. I think he has been a great asset to our parliament and to our nation. I think it's essential that he's been part of the debate that shows itself in its, the wide variances of views, from, the lunatic view that we'll have Australia run on intermittent power and wind towers and solar panels and, pixie dust, which is going to send us broke and drive us into the hands of our adversaries. That's exactly what it'll do, drive our nation into the dirt. And the other side, which is let's go back to 100% coal-fired power. Keith had an incredibly important role there, so that you, the Australian citizen, could see all the facts before you and make a decision based on the whole length and breadth of evidence rather than funnel down to a couple of views. And within that, I think Keith did an incredible job. He's done that as well on other issues, especially The Voice. He was very prominent very early on to make sure that The Voice went down, he with other people and with the National Party as well. He's had a very prominent view in other areas, especially around water and especially around infrastructure, things such as Paradise Dam, which is in his electorate, making sure that is rebuilt and fixed up, making sure that water infrastructure is in place throughout Australia. He was very competent in the water portfolio. He was very confident in the minerals portfolio. And of course, I believe he will be a great loss. And I look forward to the seat of Hinkler finding a very competent person to put forward, because it will be a tough run thing, that seat. It's been held by the Labor Party in the past. It's going to be a tough run thing, and we've got to make sure that it's held for the coalition. It's going to be vitally important to not just to the Nationals, but to the coalition itself that Hinkler's won.
He's had a crack, though. He said that the party is... well, I'll read you exactly what he said so I don't get accused of misleading on his message here. He says, we clearly have he's talking about David Littleproud. We clearly have very different views on what's the priority and the direction for the Nationals, he told the Australian newspaper. In my view, political parties without purpose soon disappear. I just think there's been a shift in terms of policy positions that is sold as discipline, but it's more about obedience. Our job is to win regional seats and represent those people and focus on their priorities, not win seats in the inner cities in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. Do you agree with him?
Well, the last election we won every seat and picked up a Senate seat. In fact, since with myself and Michael and Warren, of course, Warren very important. I don't think we ever went backwards. We always picked up seats. So we have if you gauge that as an indication of relevance, then the Nationals have been very relevant, are very relevant. I think he's dead right though. In that the relationship between the Nationals and the Liberals is not a marriage. It's not a dog wagging a tail or a tail wagging a dog. It's a business partnership, and in that business partnership, you have to have people who obviously get along, but it has to be that there's something in it for both of them. If there's in any business partnership, and we're a party based on small business, if I'm not getting something out of it, then there's no point in being in it. And if people see that you're not getting something out of it, then they'll leave you. And I no doubt we'll go to the sort of the 2050 issue. That was the decision of the National Party room at the time, but there was tens of billions of dollars in that deal. Tens of billions of dollars in that deal. I think people have unfortunately conveyed in the public which way people voted on within the room on that. But it's an issue that obviously vexed Keith greatly, and he has every right to have that serious concern. I genuinely believe that he is looking through the eyes of his nation and how.
Do you need to pull back from that commitment now? Do you think you need to pull back from that commitment on net zero by 2050?
It's a commitment that's been made, but of course I note that it's attached to a massive infrastructure deal that was there. We all know about it. You all saw it. That's attached to regional Australia. I don't agree. We never agreed at the time to this 2030 lunacy. If you want to go down the path of intermittence, because that's the path we're on, then this economy is going to be driven into the dirt. Make no mistake about it. You don't have to listen to Boeing. You don't have to listen to CSIRO.
But are you seeing the point of?
You just have to listen to your power bill. Just have to listen to your power bill. Your power bill is showing the truth. I want to just look at
the
power bill is a fact.
David Littleproud's approach to the coalition. Does he stand up enough for the Nats? Does he stand up enough for the regions?
I think that the Nationals do stand up for the regions, and it's to be seen quite evidently
the Nationals
in the numbers that we have held. I mean, we have
David
lost.
Littleproud?
I mean, Andrew G has left. I think David's doing the best job he can. I think David's going as hard as he can. Obviously, everyone's very focused now on the coming election, but until Andrew G left, we hadn't lost. We hadn't gone backwards, and you can't really blame anybody when someone decides of their own volition just to change sides in the middle of the football game. I mean, that was Andrew G's decision. But I think it is a statement of fact that if you've got to stand up for regional people, or you just let them down. I don't know whether they go anywhere else, but you just let them down. And our constituents are the poorest. That's why we get so worked up about power prices, because the people who are going to get hurt the most are the poorest in the weatherboard 9, the poorest in the little regional communities and little regional villages.
What about the LNP,
and they're the people
though?
That they don't
the LNP say, the LNP in Queensland, they say that they don't support nuclear. Jared Bligh, the Deputy Premier, yesterday said he doesn't support nuclear in Queensland. You've got Crisafulli this morning saying it, Leah Finocchiaro saying it in the Northern Territory. What's your message to the CLP and the LNP, who should be, you would imagine, on the same page as you when it comes to nuclear energy? They're not.
Well, then what you are, if you don't support it and you do want sort of the path to zero emissions, then you're going to drive your economy in Queensland and Northern Territory into the dirt. It's just not possible. You just can't go forward. As I've said before, and I hear Peter saying it, you cannot run a full-time economy on part-time power. Your renewables are not renewable, okay? There's nothing renewable about them. They end up as landfill. They end up as, they swindle, capacity investment schemes, secret agreements that they get paid even if they produce power or not. You can't run an economy on a swindle of intermittent power. You can have some, no doubt about it, but what they're doing is you just got to go talk to Keith. The physics of it is impossible. You have to have base load power. Okay. And if you're not going to use coal, then nuclear is the only place to go. Otherwise, start building massive dams up and down the East Coast. We can have hydroelectricity, but we're going to be building dams in every national park in Australia. I don't think that'll ever fly. So I just say that don't go to the podium and say, I will never believe in nuclear power, because what you're saying is that Finland must be off the head, China must be off the head, America must be off its head, Canada must be off its head, England must be off its head, France, even Ghana Even Ghana and Bangladesh are heading towards nuclear power. You know, Uganda's heading towards it. The world's going in that direction. If you stand up and say, not me, I'm the only one in step in this parade, you just look like a goose. You've got to understand the world has moved on, and stopping nuclear power is a bit like banning mobile phones or banning fridges or, you know, banning the car, because it's just where technology is, and we've got to catch up with the rest of the world. Otherwise, you will have nuclear power in the end. You can bet your life on it, but all the technology will be imported. And yet again, we'll look and see the huge mistake, the huge opportunity we lost for the biggest paying jobs, for a great industry, which Australia could have been at the forefront of. But oh no! And by the way, with the lady saying, oh, you know, that's a hyperbolic approach to what happens around nuclear reactors. Well, we've got one bang smack in the middle of Sydney. There is a nuclear reactor in Australia. It's called Lucas Heights. It's in the geographic centre of Sydney. And though I might want to attain that some of the issues for some of the people and my political opponents might be attributable to that, it's not. It's not. And it's not actually hurting anybody. And every time you go past a hospital where it's got, you know, where you've got nuclear medicine and X-rays, I don't see people walking away just wreathing on the lawns in agony. I mean, this is just rubbish. It's absolute rubbish, and shows
Barnaby,
the paucity of their argument and their lack of capacity to get anywhere.
Barnaby, Joyce, all the best to you and your family for Christmas. Merry Christmas. Have a happy New Year. We'll see you
to all you people
in a month or so.
There's the epistle of St. Barnaby. Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year too. We'll see you soon.